In life, you don't get.
It's Sunday, July 5th, revolutionaries, and it's our Independence Day from COVID, California. We're going to Oregon.
But I think in terms of marijuana, and legalization, I think that should be an issue state by state. I think it's up to the states, yeah. I'm a states person. I think it should be up to the states, absolutely. You know, I know people that are very, very sick, and for whatever reason, the marijuana really helps them.
Good people don't smoke marijuana.
Well, the good people of the world, at least in the United States, continue to get cannabis on the ballot from state to state. Signature gatherings under COVID continue, all in some states that are very surprising. So Cannabis 2020 on the ballots. Another episode of Cannabis Helps Dementia featuring the Kickmaster, Stephen A. Barbieri, and his wonderful wife, Tracy. What else is going on? Oh, yeah. We're moving to Oregon. That's right. Who's all in? I am.
I'm all in. This is the time to go all in on cannabis.
What's up, Cannabis family? This is Cannabis Saves the World. It is Sunday, July 5th. Happy Independence Day, everyone. This is a show where we talk about cannabis news, cannabis medicine, and all things cannabis, including our current use of it and where it's going to be. And of course, when I say we, I mean Coach Chela.
Hi.
Forgive me if I'm a little scattered.
You think? You're going through a lot, babe. You got a lot going on. I mean, not only what you normally do over there with like a one-armed paper hanger, one-man band, but yes, there's a lot going on, guys.
We have big news in our world, in our life, much hinted at and postulated. It's amazing, powerful creators we are.
It's true. It's a true story. Hey, speaking of, Holy Cannabis Oil, how are you? Welcome.
Holy Cannabis
Nice to
Oil.
see you.
Great to see you.
Where
Welcome
have
back.
you been?
Yeah, what's going on with
You've
you?
been
Everything
busy doing lots of stuff, it seems.
cool up
We've missed
there?
you.
Yeah, what was your, did you make it on your trip? I'm wondering if you did. Because you were going to go on a trip, right? Anyway, yes, of course, all things have changed. No one has expected the year they have received this year.
No.
No.
That was funny.
So, welcome to the show, everybody. We are doing the show today, here on the 4th of July. Last night was pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy here. As you can see, there's a pile of boxes over here, and there's no island back here.
Yes, longtime viewers of the show might notice that it looks a little different today.
It looks a little different. It has changed. It has evolved over the time. The show has evolved.
I look like I'm in a normal place.
You do. You actually dress your little nook, your little corner very well to not divulge much moving. And plus, the camera's a little close. But yes, the Murphy bed is gone to a wonderful home.
Yes,
We're
really
very-
good home.
We're very happy where it ended up. And that went out this morning, as well as the island, which also went back to its original home.
That's right. That's
Welcome
exciting.
back. So yes. MD and Niles, hello.
Hi.
Welcome to the show. Holy Cannabis. I've been all over the place, but not out of California yet. Well, we are going to be out of California very soon.
Yeah, well, we're going to take it on the road and see where it takes us, you know?
We've often talked of that possibility
Yeah.
of taking the show on the road. And what better time to do that when,
We really have, haven't we? We've
have.
gone on and on about it.
you know, and
About
we've
how
made-
much we'd like to be on the road and roll around Humboldt and Northern California and yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And
yeah.
Oregon.
And Oregon,
And
Southern Oregon.
Southern Oregon.
And Northern
Yep.
California.
So
Pretty cool.
That's the direction we are headed sooner than expected.
Yeah, I think MDN Niles might remember, we said we were going to go on a bit of a road trip and maybe stop by Jilly Love and say hi up there and roll through Humboldt. But instead of a road trip now, we're just going to move.
Yeah.
Because why not? Because
At
that makes
least-
perfect sense, right?
At least temporarily. We are going to put all of our, that's what this is. This is all of our
Most sentimental
most
things.
sentimental things boiled down to about 25 boxes.
You guys, why do we save things?
Which
I'm not
seems
going to
nuts me.
see that stuff for years. Years. That's going to be stored away somewhere. I'll probably not see it for at least 6 months, you know.
I told
Why
my,
do we do this?
my family on Zoom. It's if you are thinking of ever possibly moving out of the home you're in, start now.
Ever.
Just start getting rid of things, because it just accumulates. It's amazing what accumulates. And yeah, you just and we you did it tight. It was a tight job figuring that stuff out. So
Thanks,
that
babe.
stuff's going into storage.
Yeah.
And we're gonna stay mobile,
Mm-hmm.
and we're gonna make it. We're gonna go ease and flow on the road with ease and flow.
Oh my God.
I think is the name of the new Instagram show.
That's genius. On the road with ease and flow.
Hi, I'm Ease.
I'm Flo.
This is On the Road with Ease and Flow.
Hi. Oh my gosh, these hair things have to totally be part of my
Oh
deal.
my God, it's your new shtick.
I have lots of
bunch
these
of them.
hair things. Okay. Ease and flow.
On the Road with Ease and Flow.
On the Road with Ease and
I think we
Flow.
just came up with our new Instagram show.
That's genius. All right, so you guys make sure that you are on Instagram.
Yeah.
Because that's where the new show is going to be. The new show. Not this show. This show will still
Not
be
this
here.
show. No, we're
But
just
on the
adding another
road,
show.
on the road with Ease and Flow will be an Instagram thing.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's the goal of that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea.
And of course, Cannabis Helps Dementia is on Instagram.
It is.
Wonderful,
Cannabis
wonderful,
Helps
wonderful
Dementia is on
memes
Instagram.
Going out over there. You can follow Cannabis Helps Dementia on Instagram at Cannabis Helps Dementia,
True
the one
story.
that actually has the full name.
True story. Hey, Small Tubes.
Small Tubes.
Hi.
Welcome. We are
And
just
Brian
talking.
Arbor. Hello.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Happy Sunday, all you Canna family. Breaking news. Oregon, here we come. Come for the trees, stay for the cheap pot. Or maybe it's the other way around. Come for the cheap pot, stay for the trees. And the cliffs, the vegan cliffs of Oregon. We're going to take it over. And that puts us 3 hours outside of Humboldt.
Yeah,
Where
so
we're gonna
we're
be.
going to finally go to Humboldt.
So we're actually going to be within close striking range of Humboldt and Eureka
Yeah.
and the Emerald Triangle.
Trees. Lots of
trees,
trees.
lots
I'm
of trees.
so excited about the trees.
So California ain't getting any healthier.
Well, I mean,
gotta
you
say.
guys, there's a lot going on. The film industry is really in flux, and it's changing, and it's a lot. It's a lot. This is not to say that we're leaving forever. Of course, we can always come back, but for now, we're going on the road, and that's why you see a whole bunch of boxes behind Dave. So there you go.
Holy
We also
Cannabis
got
Oil
it.
that
We
talks
also
about
got.
moving to Southern Oregon. Have someone wanting to do a large hemp farm. Really?
Nice. Well, let us know if you need help.
Yeah, let us know if you need some coordination up there. We are we're on the coast, and we are going to be. I sense a lot of mending fences in my future.
Definitely.
Very zen.
Yeah.
Very zen.
Yeah, and organizing in my future.
Yeah,
like we do.
But there's only been 5 COVID cases in the county we're going to, and
Yeah.
of course I think there's only 12 people in the county. No, there's a little more. But yes, it's all rather coming together quicker than expected. We were actually, as you know, if you joined us last week, we were talking about visiting up into Northern California, visiting Chela's sister, visiting Oregon, and really just kind of doing a scout of what the possibilities are. And that, let's just say, that timeline got accelerated on Monday.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we are out of here sooner rather than later, and hope to be headed that way. Hopefully the last week of July.
I'm hoping sooner, but
Maybe
Dave
sooner.
Dave keeps thinking that it's going to be then. So we'll see.
Well,
We'll
listen,
see.
this what's happened in the last few days, moving things along, has been very encouraging.
Yeah.
So
The Murphy bed, it's amazing the Murphy bed went away. I'm really impressed that happened so quickly under Grace and in a perfect way.
under grace and in a perfect way. That's certainly.
And now the
been-
mattress, we get to keep the mattress, and it's hiding behind the curtains behind me here.
it's your poor man's Murphy bed.
Yeah.
You just put the mattress behind the curtain.
Behind the curtain every morning.
with
We could have just done that.
we could have just done that without spending all that money with a bungee cord.
Right?
With a bungee cord.
Oh my God, genius.
Well, there's
A
deep-
rope ratchet. A
ro-
rope ratchet.
a rope
That way the bungee cord, because a bungee cord can pop you in the eye.
Well, we showed that video last week too. That's where we're going. Is that little spot in paradise there on the coast of Oregon, on the Oregon cliff, and
Yes.
revolution trips.
True story.
That's kind of cool. I like that.
Hey, I wanted to
You
say
don't like
hi.
ease and flow? How about an revolution with ease and flow?
Oh, that's interesting.
We're batting around names
Oh,
for our
I'm
new
loving
Instagram
it. Oh, this
show.
is fun. Hey, Rose, what do you think? Hi, Rose, on Facebook.
Brian Arbor. Mahalo, brother. Thank you for your super
Oh,
chat.
thanks, buddy.
For your travels.
You're
Love
very
you too.
kind. Thank you.
So kind of you for your a big supporter, Brian, from the very beginning. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. We love you too. We love sharing our adventures. We have been on the road, a couple of short trips. We've done some cool
Practice.
things on the road,
We've done some practice.
rehearsing. And now it's really gonna be a cool adventure because not only are we gonna be, not being able to run down to York Boulevard and get vegan donuts,
Right.
and whatever else yummies we can get, we're going to be, helping to create a vegan sanctuary for people to visit, and so there's a lot of work to be done on this wonderful, beautiful property, and that is already, just gorgeous.
Yeah.
But there's just stuff needs to be done, so we're going to be doing. Helping out our good friend who owns the property, and what better time?
Yes,
What better
now-
time to start a new adventure? And quite frankly, we've got the ability to do it. This has been our, we live in 275 square feet that we rent, so we don't own any home.
Which, by the way, when you rent, the landlady can ask you to move it anytime.
Yes,
Just saying.
even during a pandemic.
Yeah, well, actually, no, she can't really.
No,
I mean, if we wanted to make a fuss about it, we could, but we want to leave anyway, so.
pass the salt.
Hey, I wanted to make a note,
the cannabis.
folks. My friend Rose LaChance on Facebook has a wonderful group called CBD and Hemp Oil, CBD/hemp oil for dementia care, and it's terrific. She shares lots of great articles and information about CBD and hemp. So if you have any friends who are just afraid of cannabis, and they can ease their way in with Rose.
Ease and flow.
And also, of course, let's ask, actually, Holy Cannabis Oil, we haven't spoken to you in so long. Are you still producing CBD, a CBD tincture as well? Anyway.
Because we have this week on Cannabis Helps Dementia, episode 12, an amazing story of healing with CBD. And looking forward to that coming up here at the 4:30 hour. Jilly Love, a quick recap. Hello.
Oh, yes, Jilly.
Jilly Love actually got a little heads up as to what was going on early in the week.
That our timeline was extending.
That our timeline was changing. But it looks like we are bound north, probably the end of the third week of July. Thereabouts.
In the third week, I'd say.
And making a brief stopover in Sacramento.
Overnight.
Yeah. And then off we got to go through Humboldt, don't we?
I'm not sure. I think there are two different ways. Anyway, we haven't gotten quite that far ahead.
We haven't quite mapped out how we're getting from Sacramento to Oregon yet.
Yeah, but
after
right
that
now
stop.
we're moving, and that's what's happening.
Clearly we're moving.
So yeah, I that's sort of where we are, Jilly Love. We are moving, and
island gone.
Yes.
Chela's,
We've sold some of our items. People have come to go get them, and all the good stuff.
So we're super excited. We've been talking about this. That we've done this sort of thing our whole lives.
Ease and Flow Revolution Road. Oh, good.
That you're gonna put that into the headline
That's
generator.
A
I
good
bet you that
one.
gets a lot of points.
Ease and
Flow Revolution Road. I love it. MDM Niles is gonna get a producer credit.
Right.
Not if you take the 5. Okay. All right. Well, it's the 101. I think I got to go, right? No. Anyway, we'll figure that out. We'll talk to Jilly Love about that. But we're gonna
that's great.
Meander our way. Not too much of a meander because we're gonna have a car.
No, we're gonna have a car full of shit. I don't think
shit.
that we should stop in a bunch of places. But I can't make the whole trip in one go. So that's why Sacramento, my sister, because it's on the way.
It's on the way. And we missed her birthday.
Yeah, but we're going to be up there and we'll be able to go to Humboldt probably in August, at least for a weekend.
At least. We'll be very close. We'll be just 3 hours. Take 101 through Humboldt. Okay,
we could stop for a cup of coffee.
Totally. Absolutely. We will work that in.
We could definitely do that on the way.
We'll mask up.
For sure.
And socially coffee.
Right. Socially coffee.
Socially distant coffee. Everybody gets their own joint.
Oh, yes. That's what we mean by coffee.
That's what we mean by coffee, yes. Take a walk. We're going to go take a walk.
Yeah, we'll have a nice walk together.
I do love that. Ease and Flow Revolution Road.
That's great. I got to write that down.
On the Revolution Road with Ease and Flow.
Hang on. Let me, I got to start making a file.
Start making notes, yes. Yeah. Start making notes. So that's going to be on Instagram, as is our Cannabis Helps Dementia Instagram, where we get your cool memes that Chela and I put together. Why are I not in there? I'll get to it. So that's the news. This is basically the pilot episode. We should make the account and start doing the little videos.
Well, we got to pick a name.
Well, we're getting close. We're getting close on that.
Yeah.
We have a couple of things we have to loose ends we got to tie up here.
Yeah, totes. What's destination and destined? Yes, destination ultimately for a while will be Gold Beach, Oregon. Actually, Nisika Beach, which is 7 miles north of Gold Beach. But Gold Beach is the vacation destination that a lot of people know about. It's 3 hours from anywhere, including Humboldt.
And 5 hours from most major
Oregon and 5 hours from most places.
Cities. So it is. We briefly lived on the north shore of the Big Island of Hawaii. I was going to say we've done this throughout our lives. Really, we've never wanted to have kids, so we've always sort of had this flexibility, and we've never been comfortable as being landowners. So.
Yeah, one
never
place
really
or
even
another.
tried.
It just
it never really was a
right.
goal to do it, and just kind of when we lived in Hawaii for 10 years, and it never felt right.
Definitely wasn't right there.
So, but when we did go to Hawaii the first time, it was very quick. We were, Chela got offered a job on Waterworld, and I was ready to move on from my career in the grocery business. And Chela said, I can get a job on Waterworld in Hawaii. I said, great, let's move. And 6 weeks later, we were in Hawaii. And we had just been dating for 9 months. So, and here we are 27 years later, last week being our 27-year anniversary. Thank you, Brian. And Cannabis Sativa gave us super chats last week for that event. And so that was the one. And then we came back relatively quickly just because out of necessity from that Hawaii excursion. But the next time we went was when we opened the bookstore.
No, it was about 5 years that we were in Hawaii. 4 or 5 years the first time, and 4 or 5 years the second time.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But like the bookstore was, I guess when we leave California, it's a quick decision. Because then we went to Maui and opened the bookstore the second time, and that was pretty quick when we did that, and
yeah, fairly
without planning.
Yes, but still, that was a few months. That was a several months thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't. When we moved back with my mom, when my mom was clearly sick,
yeah, that was.
We were like, okay, I'll call the pod.
What you need, Brian?
Smoke weed every day.
Hey, there it is. Hey. That's what we need.
Tis time.
He's like, yeah, I did. I just got it when the alarm went off. Yes, everybody got a minute. It's 4:20. Everybody on the West Coast, enjoy. We have a variety of flower that we're enjoying.
We are. We do.
We did, however, pack up we're about to pack up our air riser. Chela's like, are we taking the air riser to Oregon? I'm like, of course we're taking the air riser to Oregon. It's pennies for pot up in Oregon.
Right.
So,
hey, Ellen Blasey.
Ellen Blasey, I'm going to enjoy.
All right. Yeah, so it's an exciting and dynamic time. I hope that you guys are making the most of this time as well, this weird time in the world. I don't know how y'all's businesses and work and stuff is impacted, but ours has completely hit the fan, so we might as well go.
We're getting reports from people working on some productions that are starting up and shutting down, starting commercials that made it through a 1 day shoot. Was that a 1 day shoot?
That she did?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, 1 day shoot.
And then I saw another report of a damp rid commercial that was done, and I just feel like the world it's not life or death to make a new damp rid commercial.
Do you want to play Russian roulette to make a damp rid commercial? That's really the question.
I just don't think it's right. I mean, if it's your movie, I can see wanting to make it. But if it's not your film...
Well, what about Michael Bay, who is immediately trying to open up in... Where's he trying to shoot? Is it here or Georgia?
I don't know.
He's doing a COVID-themed horror film that SAG has said do not work on because they're not signatories.
Contract.
Yeah, they haven't signed the contract yet. They're trying to, they've always been wanted to find ways to cut labor, and now they can't cut
the actors.
And now they have they can't cut the actors. Now they have a reason to cut everybody else. Unions in the entertainment industry are, get you a good wage, get you health care, and spread out the work so that there are more jobs. And producers are always trying to combine the work. That's what non-union work is. One person does a bunch of stuff. He's the grip, the gaffer, and the camera operator.
Mm-hmm.
That's non-union work.
The art director is the prop master and the on-set dresser. All
exactly. At one point, I was the actor and the first AD on a movie we did. So that's low budget, and they're trying to now consolidate all these jobs, and it's just not good. Not good for labor.
Well, it's not allowed, first of all.
Exactly. It's going to be huge labor disputes over a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, again, I just don't think it's wise to play Russian roulette to make entertainment that it's not essential. It's not essential.
And that's really what COVID is. Every time you're going out and you're being around people, sharing air, you are rolling that chamber and hoping you either don't get it, or what you get is either going to be no symptoms, but all the way up to and including crossing the blood-brain barrier and stroke and
kidney failure,
all kinds of nasty stuff. There's literally, it doesn't matter. It depends on who you are and how your immune system is compromised, what your comorbidities are, that will determine how your body reacts to this virus. Mm-hmm. So it literally is like playing Russian roulette.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know what their underlying conditions might be. Say some people who maybe don't necessarily go to the doctor all the time. How do they know? if they have a condition or not. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Keep your endocannabinoid system activated and
That's right.
saturated.
That's right.
So all of those receptors are filled up,
That's
and take your vitamin D.
Yeah.
And do all and stay healthy.
Speaking of saturating my endocannabinoid.
Saturating your endocannabinoid system.
Should we start the
podcast?
We do the podcast? And then
sure.
We can nourish, and then we can come back.
Absolutely. Being well nourished. We can. We'll start in 6 minutes. But I'll tell you what. While you're nourishing yourself, I'll talk about a couple of headlines.
I'm not going to nourish right now.
Okay,
but I'll
very
do
good.
it when we're doing the podcast.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Sounds like a plan. But just from the opening of the headlines, as we've always said on this show, Cannabis 2020. Cannabis is a winning political issue, and the signatures are being collected, accepted, gathered. Despite COVID, despite the shutdowns, the activists have found ways. We reported on Montana last week. This week, guess who's on the list? Nebraska. What? Nebraska? There's a good movie called Nebraska. There was a good album called Nebraska too. But marijuana and Nebraska have never mixed. One of the harshest marijuana laws states in the country. But guess what? 182,000 signatures collected, and it's going to be on the ballot in November. 60,000 more than what they needed. So they should be okay with getting certified. And this is, of course, a medical marijuana ballot. Not expecting them to go full wreck right away.
Not full adult use?
Not full adult use in Nebraska. And gambling. Gambling also made it onto the so that if you're going to get people to the polls, do the vices.
Because of the vices thing, it is unfortunate that they're both on the ballot, because that makes people conflate cannabis with vices again more.
It is an ongoing struggle to change that conversation. This is true.
I muted myself.
Say it again after you're done.
No, it's okay.
So good on you, Nebraska. Arizona. Purely a coincidence, I'm sure. But they turned in 420,000 signatures to qualify for the measure on the ballot in Arizona. Yeah, you have a comment on that? Make sure you're unmuted. Oh, because you can do it. You can walk around and comment. So Arizona has got it going on. So that's good news. It's going to be on the ballot in as many states as possible. Where else it's being looked at? Idaho. Idaho.
Wow.
Here's a list of everything from Marijuana Moment. As signature deadlines approach, here's where marijuana and drug policy reform campaign stands. In Arizona, as we just reported, their deadline was July 2nd, and they turned in 420,000 signatures. Idaho. Let's see what's going on in Idaho. While the original deadline to submit signatures for the initiative to legalize medical marijuana passed on May 1st, a federal judge recently ruled that the state must make accommodations for a separate non-cannabis ballot campaign due to non-cannabis ballot campaign due to signature gathering complications caused by the coronavirus pandemic and the government's response to it. Activists feel the ruling will also apply to the marijuana measure. Despite pushback from state officials, the judge said on Tuesday that the campaign involved in the suit should be allowed to begin circulating petitions on July 9th, and they'd have 48 days from then to gather signatures, including electronically.
Oh, wow.
That said, the state is pushing back and has appealed the ruling to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit. They'll do it. The cannabis campaign told Marijuana Moment it has deployed U.S. attorneys to ensure they are also able to benefit from the extension. Under the proposal, patients with qualifying conditions, we hate the lists, could receive medical cannabis recommendations from physicians and then possess up to 4 ounces of marijuana and grow up to 6 plants in Idaho.
I wonder what the qualifying conditions are.
Yeah, we'll have to check on that for next week, maybe. But they'll have 48 days if it doesn't get overturned in the appeals court. Nebraska, 182,000 signatures. Chela, did you know that Oregon is possibly the most, is leading the country in drug policy reform?
I love that.
The new state that we're going to?
And also, they were the first to have, or among the first to have, the right to die.
That's right. That's right.
Very liberal.
The
for
confluence of
its
campaigns to
whiteness.
legalize psilocybin therapy, decriminalize all drugs, and decriminalize entheogens at the local level has made Oregon home to complementary reform movement. That's a cool article in Double Blind. But what's going on there as far as psilocybin goes is the campaign to legalize mushrooms for therapeutic purposes already submitted signatures that they feel will qualify them for the ballot. Let's see. So that looks good. Psilocybin measure would make Oregon the first jurisdiction in the U.S. to implement a therapeutic legalization model for psychedelic mushrooms, hoping it includes a collective ceremonial clause in it. That would be nice. And not just make it, available with chemical psilocin through your psychiatrist.
Yeah.
So we'll keep an eye on that. Washington, D.C., decriminalized nature also registering, collected so far, I believe, also for mushrooms, ayahuasca, psilocybin, and entheogenic substances. That would be, I believe, like, what is that, ketamine and that kind of stuff?
Mushrooms.
All the substances.
All the
things.
Plant psychedelic substances.
Indeed. So, lots of action on the ballots for cannabis, for plant medicine throughout the country. More signature gathering happening in Idaho coming up as soon as they get the approval. They can start July 9th. So probably be Nebraska and Idaho, it's not. I mean, it's surprising that these are ending up on the ballot.
It is really surprising.
And I don't know what is the impetus for that, except for the fact that most of the country, the tipping point, yes, all of the country has decided that at least cannabis should be legal, and even Donald Trump thinks it should be legal for medical.
Nah, not really. Not really.
He secretly.
He said so on the thing, on the campaign trail, but he's done jack shit about it, and actually his administration has done bad shit for it. So
yes, this is
fuck
true.
That guy. Unless he deschedules cannabis, fuck that guy.
MDMA, yes, entheogenic. That's what that is. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool. Let's see. Holy Cannabis Oil says, I have way too much weed in my camper. I don't have much of a choice. It takes up way too much space, which I don't have enough space as it is. We're about to feel that pain heading up in our Forester.
You need a barn or something to put it in when you're done.
Burn. Oh, a barn. Yes. And where is that hemp farm? We'll have to talk. We'll have to talk more. But we're going to talk more in the chat, and we're going to talk more when we come back after we check out the latest episode of the Cannabis Helps Dementia podcast, which you can find over, excuse me, I'm going to get the frog out of my throat. Pardon moi. Over at anchor.fm/Cannabis Helps Dementia. You can get to all the podcast services where the podcast streams, including Apple, iPod, what are they called?
iTunes.
On iTunes, Apple Podcasts on iTunes.
Yeah.
Where you can rate and review us. That would be great. If you haven't done that yet, go over to iTunes, rate and review us on iTunes. Give us a 5-star, hopefully. And that helps get more algorithm and boost us up. We're also on Spotify with Joe Rogan.
Not exactly like that, but yeah.
Not exactly like that, no. And all the podcast services.
Yeah. This week's podcast episode is so cool because Stephen Barbieri is living with dementia. And his wife, Tracy, is his primary caregiver. He lives at home. And he was diagnosed really young. They knew something was wrong. Of course, they didn't know what at first. But he was diagnosed at 51. And luckily, he was diagnosed because, he told a story when we first met him that, his marriage was troubled because of his illness not being diagnosed yet. So they were testing for hearing and this and that because he was forgetting what he was being told, and then he was being shitty about it afterwards when he forgot. And anyway, so Stephen is amazing, and he has always been a major exercise guy. In fact, that's sort of what contributed to his dementia. He has chronic traumatic encephalopathy. It's a type of dementia where you get hit in the head, and you get this type of dementia. So he, anyway, you'll hear it in the podcast. But he is our guest with his wife, and you might as well play.
I think we're going to do that. We did sort of run out of time, and Mercury is in retrograde. So I wasn't able to get the video portion of it up to play. We'll launch that tomorrow. So you will be able to watch the interview. But we are going to play.
And we fixed the sound. Dave fixed the sound.
And I did. It's in sync now. I figured it out. That was just, it was an OBS setting. So user error there.
Nice.
But we are going to go ahead and listen to the latest episode 12 of Cannabis Helps Dementia, featuring the Kickmaster, Stephen A. Barbieri, and his wonderful wife and incredibly supportive wife, Tracy. And this is an incredibly moving, patient story of how cannabis, and not even full THC cannabis, we're talking CBD and THCA. Are you ready for this? You're going to hear about how this simple medicine that can be used in almost every state, at least 33.
Not THCA.
But not THCA. But CBD, which is a major part of his protocol, can be used in every state. You are going to be amazed at how beneficial this has been for them.
Yeah.
So let's check out, this is the latest episode of Cannabis Helps Dementia.
As family caregivers, we learned so much about
Including
how
Anchor
cannabis
commercial.
helps dementia from my mom's journey through Alzheimer's disease that we couldn't let all that knowledge slip away after her passing.
But we really had no idea how to get it out there.
Until we learned about Anchor FM. It's the easiest way to make a podcast and share your story.
It's free, and there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer.
Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google, and many more.
You can make money on your podcast with no minimum listeners. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place.
Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's awesome.
Why don't you get wise? Get up and get out. Get rid of that frown that's been dragging you down, and get up in the air. Just pretend that you can fly. You'll never know if you can till you try.
Hi, and welcome to Cannabis Helps Dementia. I'm Chela.
I'm Dave, and right up front, we'd like to say that we're not doctors or medical professionals, and nothing you hear in this podcast should be considered medical advice.
Right.
We're not experts, but throughout this podcast series, you'll hear from doctors, nurses, research scientists, administrators, other caregivers, and people living with dementia about how cannabis helps.
Like it did for our family.
Yeah, that's right.
After my mom was diagnosed with dementia, we were thrust into family caregiving and became fierce advocates for people living with dementia,
Including their access to cannabis medicine.
In this episode, we're connecting with Stephen and Tracy Barbieri. Stephen appears to be living and thriving with CTE dementia since 2012.
Before he was diagnosed, he worked as the vice president and district manager at Wells Fargo Bank. Stephen has been married to Tracy for 25 years, and they have a beautiful family. Stephen is a fighter and constantly advocates for finding a cure for Alzheimer's and related dementias. He serves as on the board of directors of the Alzheimer's Association of Northern California and Northern Nevada. Known as the Kickmaster, Stephen spent 4 decades in Taekwondo with a rank of master's level. Master Stephen trained in Thailand in Muay Thai and in China at the Shaolin Temple and traveled the world for martial arts.
We met Stephen in Sacramento last year, right after my mom passed, when we were lobbying the assembly with the Alzheimer's Association, asking our electeds to be bold and fund more research for dementia. Stephen gave an inspiring speech explaining the benefits and urgency of an early diagnosis. He was so engaging and entertaining in relating his journey. He spoke about the benefits of an early diagnosis and a good diet and lots of exercise. He is the Kickmaster, after all. So after his speech, I asked him if he had ever tried cannabis medicine. And he told me, my wife won't let me go a day without it.
Stephen and Tracy Barbieri, thank you so much for all you do and for talking with us about how cannabis helps dementia.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. We're looking forward to the opportunity this morning.
Awesome. Awesome. So we know how active you are in the Alzheimer's Association and that you've also recently participated in a research study at UCSF. I know you're not a doctor or a researcher, but where do you think we are in terms of finding a cure to dementia?
It's out there. It's just a matter of just making that contact. I mean, they've been doing the research for such a long time. I know they've been focusing on the amyloid plaque for all these years, and I think they finally kind of turned the corner. Now they're looking at the tau buildup, and that's what that clinical trial I was in at UCSF. It was focusing on the tau buildup, which again is another cause of Alzheimer's and dementia. But for some reason, all these years, they really have just been really focusing on the amyloid plaque.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, is anyone talking about how cannabis helps dementia in those more traditional spaces like universities and advocacy organizations? Is there any whispers amongst the staff?
Definite whispers amongst the staff. I know that when we first started this journey with cannabis, we called Stephen's neurologist, and I just wanted to let her know. I said, I just want you to know that we have an appointment and we are looking into this. And we're going to, probably go forward with it. And she said, by all means, do it. I cannot prescribe it yet. But most of my patients are kind of going that direction and they're having great success. And then when we were at UCSF during Stephen's trial, we did talk to the neurologist there, and he said they are hearing very positive things. Again, they cannot prescribe it yet. But they're hearing very, very positive things and to keep it up.
Wow. That's amazing. And you guys are in Northern California, right?
Central Valley, yes.
Central Valley. Wow. That's inspiring. That's exciting. I'm curious why maybe doctors may not have spoken to you about it, even though they can't prescribe it. If they had other patients that were benefiting from it, why didn't they bring it up, I wonder?
Well, here's the trick answer for that. My insurance is through Kaiser. Kaiser's not just in California. Kaiser is across the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Kaiser says anything, they have to be careful, because then whatever they say, it's a blanket statement for all the other states. Well, cannabis is legal in California. Cannabis is not legal in every state that Kaiser has of facilities. So they can't say, I have a policy for this state, we have a policy for that state. So they just have policies for Kaiser. So again, when we brought it up to her, she engaged us in a conversation, and she said, and this is the chief neurologist at Kaiser, because of my early onset, I was fortunate to get to see the chief neurologist. And she said more and more of her patients are, and again, I stopped taking my traditional medication that she had prescribed. I was on Aricept for a couple of years. I had bad side effects. I was having worse nightmares, night terrors, and just the side effects were worse than the benefits of it. So when we said that we were going to actually stop that, she says, well, I understand stopping it, just what's it called? Wean down or cycle down off of it. Don't just instantly stop. And then we've been taking the cannabis ever since. So I've been taking the CBD and THCA and some night chews chocolates before bed now for about 4 or 5 years. And it's been life-changing for us. And again, back to the clinical trial for UCSF, we had to go through several interview processes along the way. And the doctor was asking us a lot of questions. And Tracy says, well, I just have one question for you. And he said, oh, okay. She says, my husband's been on CBD and some other cannabis products. Can he still be on this to be in the clinical trial? And if your answer is no, he's not going to be in the clinical trial. She was very forthright and upfront about that.
That was our only stipulation. Anything else, I said, can go. That's fine.
Wow.
We will not deviate from this protocol that he's already on and using, because it works for him and for our family.
Yeah.
So if you are saying he has to be off of cannabis, then we're going to back out of the trial altogether.
Talk about being bold.
Yeah.
We just rewatched your keynote from where we met you, Stephen, with the Alzheimer's Association, and you were, the whole theme with them was to be bold, and we were sort of up there being bold, trying to push the Cannabis Helps Dementia theme, and that's pretty bold to actually say to a doctor, "This is working. We're not changing this." And I think that's really what we need more of. So you came on to cannabis, or came to cannabis maybe about halfway into your journey, a few years already into your journey.
Yeah, when did that happen?
What was that like? When did that happen? How did that transpire? And obviously it's changed your life. So just tell me a little bit how you came to cannabis.
I'll actually let my wife tell the story, because when I grew up, I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I've never done drugs. I don't know if you want to say a square or whatever. It wasn't my type of lifestyle. So when Tracy was mentioning, let's try, well, she was saying pot. She wasn't using the word cannabis. Let's try pot and this. And I'm like, no. And that went on for literally, I think, almost 2 years. Pushing. Finally, she says, you like to research things. So why don't you do some research and stuff? Talk about it later, and I'll let her finish the story.
So things had gotten a little heated. Stephen's emotions were kind of all over the place. That aggression with his type of dementia was starting to really affect our marriage, affect our life here. And I was at school one day, and I was very upset because of his behaviors had gotten I wanted him to be on kind of some mood stabilizer, something. And I had even called the doctor on my own in tears and said, I need some help. And she said, well, he has to be willing to take these mood stabilizers. And he was not. He was not willing, because one of the number one side effects with CTE is suicide. Most of the mood stabilizers, their side effects are suicide. So I was talking to a friend at school, and he uses CBD. He has ulcerative colitis, and he has been using CBD products for years to help that, and no flare-ups, anything. That's a side story.
Sure.
He said, listen, just get him to try it, even if you have to put it in his food.
Yeah.
See how it works. Just please, I know this is going to help him. Here's some research. So he gave me a little bit of things. I, brought them home to Stephen. Can you just research this? Just try it, because it's either you try the CBD or you do the mood stabilizers, or we can't live like this.
Yeah.
One of us is going to go.
Yeah.
We don't want to break up our marriage over this, but this is bad. So he researched it and finally was willing to go. We went to the dispensary here in town, and we spoke with a gentleman who has the same exact diagnosis as Stephen.
They spend more time with us than the doctors. Doctors' appointments are like 15 or 30 minutes.
Yeah.
We didn't even buy, I think, that first time or something.
We did.
And he spent like 45 minutes explaining to us, answering all the questions. And I felt like saying, wow, you spend more time with me than the doctor.
He told us the same story. His is caused by football, but he and his wife were having the same issues, and she had actually even left. She took the and left him.
Wow.
And then his friends, I guess, told him about CBD products. 6 months. Or 6 weeks, 6 weeks. Huge difference. He called and said, please come see me. Look at my difference in how I am. Give us another chance. And they're back together. And this was the man at the entrance of the dispensary. He was not the one selling us. He was like the bouncer guy.
Right.
At the door. And just, told us his story. And he was like, just try it. I will come. I will sit with you. And he told me privately, I will sit with you if he's, if something goes wrong. Told Stephen, I will sit with you. I will mentor you through this. I'll talk to you about it. And then when we got to go in the room and speak with
we spoke with Jason, the owner of the place.
Yeah.
He happened to be there, and we happened to know each other from the gym. And I didn't realize that he owned this dispensary that had been for years. So he goes, wait, you go to my gym. And so we had a nice connection. So it all worked out really well.
They just spent so much time with us explaining everything. how, to start off slow, to kind of increase it. It was
And I'm sorry, what year was this approximately?
probably 4 years ago. We were, let's see, it's 2020.
So 2016?
2016. Mm-hmm.
It wasn't
Cool.
legal at the time, so it was cheaper.
Right.
I had the doctor's, you had to have a doctor's note at that time to get it. So I was able to get it. And I mean, things were a lot more inexpensive at that time. Things I paid $12.50 for, an example, one of these Sensei Chews that I use at nighttime that helps me sleep. I paid $12.50 before, now they're $31 because of all the taxes and everything. So
Right.
Proposition 64 was not friend to the patient at all.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, that was our experience with Mom. We were basically had a bottle of olive oil infused with cannabis in it. Didn't really know how much was in there, but we knew something was working. And so we just kept doing it. So now, yeah, it's much.
So it was, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, H.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, now that you've sort of found your dose, you've found your rhythm. What's your routine? What are you using, and how many times a day? What is your dose?
Well, my dose is, first of all, with the cannabis, it's exercise. The number one medication you can do is exercise. So I stress the fact that you've got to be doing some type of exercise. So I go to the gym. I try and do that daily. If I can't get to the gym when they were closed, I had a friend that owns a boxing gym. I was able to go do mitt work. No contact, doing mitt work just for that oxygen rush and changing of the numbers. So when I would come home from the gym or from boxing, I would put the THC underneath my tongue, the CBD, the CBD underneath my tongue before I got into the shower. And my dosage that ended up working for me, I started with the 500 milligrams of CBD with 0.3 of THC. And the reason they explained about the 0.3 of the THC is so that it would cross into the brain barrier. It allowed it to cross in. And then it's mixed with MCT, which is the coconut oil.
Right.
Because an oil to get through the body. You mentioned you use the olive oil. This company, a lot of the other companies like the MCT, the coconut oil. So we started at the 500, and then over time, I think the last couple of years or a year or so, I moved up to 1,000 milligrams still with the 0.3 of the THC. And I just take about 3/4 of an eyedropper underneath my tongue. And it basically I used to say it just levels me out and keeps me vanilla. It used to be every single day around 2 or 2:30, like a cell phone, my personal battery would die in a sense of my brain. I was like overstimulated, too much going on. I literally had to go into a dark room and take a nap every day for an hour, sometimes 2 hours. I was just exhausted. And I would explain to people, it's like a cell phone. You can have the best updated cell phone, but if you overuse it and the battery dies, it's no good. You have to just leave it alone and plug it in. And it charges faster if you're not using it. So same thing, if I go in the back room and nobody's bothering me and I could just sleep, I needed that time. Well, since I've taken this, for me, I don't have to take that nap any longer, which now means at bedtime, I'm more sleepy. Whereas, as you know, with most people with dementia, they have broken sleep. So that's why earlier we were saying I like to research, because I would be up at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. And what was I doing? I was always on the computer trying to educate myself on what I could do and what I needed to do and what were some of the things out there. So this really helped out. So I don't have to take my naps anymore. And the nice thing is that I can take this wherever we go and travel, because we travel a lot on vacations and things, and I'm able to take this as well. So this gets me through the day. But again, at nighttime, I still have problems about sleeping. So I have something called THCA. Now, this one took a lot for me to kind of understand. So hopefully I'm going to say this correctly. So the part of the pot that has the hallucinogenic products is THC. And the way it becomes hallucinogenic products is based on heat. That's why everybody has those pens and they've got a heat element in it. And you have to light it to think. Well, this one's the opposite. This is THCA. It's got a different molecule in it, and it has to be refrigerated. So it stays in the refrigeration. There's never a heat concentration to it. And so I take it out every night before bed, and I take just about a half of it, 1/3, probably close to a half of an eyedropper of this, and a Sensei Chew chocolate that's got some CBD and melatonin in it. And basically, I have my technique. I lay down and I count 100, but I count 100 breaths. So 1, 2. And I very rarely get to 100.
Mm-hmm.
I get distracted or Tracy may ask me a question. I don't try and remember what number I'm at. I just start over and I get a good 7 to 8 hours worth of sleep now. And because I don't have that broken sleep at night, I'm more functionable during the day. And because I don't have to nap during the day, I'm more tired at nighttime, and this helps me sleep. So this is my process that gets me through the day. I use the phrase that gets vanilla. I joke around, again, I'm not a doctor, but I tell my friend, you could drink a gallon of this stuff and you're not going to get high. It's not designed for that. That's not what it does. And then at nighttime, I just take enough of this, and that's my dosage. Some people might just take 2 or 3 drops of it. Some people, depending upon body weight and size, might take a larger amount. So again, I just take about a half of an eyedropper and the Sensei Chew at the same time, and then about 15 minutes, watch a little news or sports, and I close my eyes and start counting my breaths. And also Tracy rubs my head or rubs my leg, and that kind of helps relax me at the same time too.
Very nice.
Just a couple of observations. That's like parasympathetic breathing. That's very good for going to sleep. I do that as well. What I'm fascinated about is you basically described a completely Delta 9 THC free regimen.
No high.
No high at all.
No
You're
high.
using CBD from hemp, which is the 0.3.
No risk
THC
of dizziness.
To activate the rest of the cannabinoids and get them into your system, that you're very aware of that. And then you're using a THCA, which is one of the first times that we've heard of someone actually utilizing that to effect with Alzheimer's and with dementia in our circle. People have been talking about what's being researched with THCA. And so you travel a lot. And we were like, well, how does he travel and use his cannabis? Well, you're essentially using, the stuff that's okay to travel with. I don't know what the exact what the exact status of THCA is, but I know hemp CBD is pretty much okay unless you're in a strange circumstance. But that's really, it's remarkable that you're getting such benefit with basically anyone in the United States could use this regimen, essentially, even if it's just starting with the CBD.
In any state.
In any state. It doesn't even have to be the 33 that
CBD
can have
is legal.
full access, as long as you get a good source and you know where you're getting it from, and you've seen the certified, the testing, third-party testing, you know how much you're getting with, obviously, you've done your research and we're looking into that, and you're getting benefit. And if it doesn't work, you're not getting what you want. So I'm just hearing what you've just explained is remarkable to me, and so inspiring that pretty much anyone in the United States could be getting benefit and relief with cannabis medicine right now. So that's my rant. Chela, go ahead.
What I'm hearing is that it's helped you with sleep, mood stabilization, and has reduced polypharmacy.
Yes.
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 And I hear that you've exercised, though, for your whole life.
Yes.
So you were still exercising, but the cannabis is really helping knit all the benefits together.
The mood especially, and the sleep. And I will say that because he sleeps, therefore I get to sleep, where before it was not that way. So if he didn't sleep, a broken pattern with anyone with the dementias, when they have those broken patterns, then their caregiver is usually up too, because to make sure that that person is okay, what's happening with them. And so because he has been able to sleep, I am able to sleep. And so that has been a benefit for both of us.
Yeah, broken sleep is an excellent description of what people living with dementia suffer, and their caregivers at home.
Speaking of their caregivers,
yes.
Have you found any benefit using CBD yourself?
Because I'm entering menopause, my sleep is very broken up, and also my mood.
Yes.
I'm unwilling to do any kind of hormone. I'm definitely not a candidate for it because of my mom. So every once in a while, if my anxiety is very, very high, Stephen will say, hey, why don't you take some of my CBD and try to settle yourself down? And it does. I'm not going to go and smoke or something like that because of my reactions with that. But this has helped. It helps me get to sleep and stay asleep. And so, yes,
Every once in a while when I grab a chocolate, I'll pull an extra one out and say, yeah, I think you need a chocolate tonight.
You know, I have been, full disclosure, I'm through menopause. I am 2.5 years postmenopausal, and I could not have gotten through all those changes at the height of my mom's illness and passing. It would have been really, really hard without the use of cannabis medicine. And cannabis medicine really, really helped me. I'm obviously different than you guys. We're all different people.
Yeah, we're all
of us.
different, right?
Everybody needs different ratios and what works for their personal endocannabinoid system. I mean, medicine is all about personalized medicine now. They're like, ooh, personalized medicine. I would think that cannabis would be the perfect thing for them to start exploring.
Yes.
And there's, what we're hearing in many of the interviews that we've done so far from folks implementing it in facilities and just doctors, and is that they're getting such effect at such low doses, even with full THC. They're getting amazing results. It's just 1 or 2 milligrams with folks because sometimes you need it, even with the kids with epilepsy. Not every kid just responds to just CBD. You need some THC in some respects. So everybody is a little bit different. And we are all basically been doing this on our own. We've had to research this, there is research there. There is science there.
And there are some doctors now.
And there are some doctors. Exactly.
So I heard you saying that a friend of yours from work at the elementary school who had experience with cannabis medicine convinced you, Tracy, to look into it and try it maybe. Did you work? And I heard you say that you had an appointment. So it sounds like maybe you worked with a doctor to help you get on board, or how did you get on board in the first place?
We made an appointment at the dispensary. So
okay.
To speak with somebody.
Okay, cool.
Who was, they just, the docs will be like, it was on ours with Mom. It was, the psychiatrist walked in, said, oh, looks like she's having a psychotic break, and wrote the prescription for Zyprexa, after just looking at her for 10 minutes. Not even. Yeah. He just whipped in,
seconds.
whipped out, said, psychotic break.
Psychotic break. Here's something that'll kill you.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Here's a black box drug for you.
So did you ever consult a seasoned cannabis doctor about finding your dose, or were you guys literally the researchers, like with a notebook and things like that?
We were literally the researchers. We did it. He started
just like us.
and the guy at the dispensary, and they tell you, we're not doctors either.
Yep.
But one of the men we spoke with, his dad actually was in a home, in a memory care home, and he would bring it into him because, the caregivers there were unwilling to give him his doses. So he would go in and give it to him. And he said, Stephen, start off slow, try this amount. If that doesn't help you, move up a little bit, or if you feel that's too much, you don't need that much, then, just kind of adjust it to yourself. And because over the years that he's been using it, he has moved up a little bit in the dosage, and that's okay. Your body's changed, just like you're taking melatonin. It stops working after a little while, and you have to up the dosage.
I just heard of somebody on
all drugs, all medicines,
an
you change your
absurd
dosage.
amount of morphine. Yeah, it's like everything creeps up. And what do you want creeping up? Your CBD level, and with a little full spectrum, so it's not an isolate. Yeah, no problem. Don't worry about that.
Yeah,
we still haven't killed anybody with cannabis.
It's amazing.
It really hasn't happened yet.
The neurologist was completely familiar with it, understood it, and more and more. She was saying, her phrase was, more and more my patients are going to it and getting off their medication.
Yeah.
But again, you realize, then she says Kaiser is in more than one state. And so I had to try and read in between some of the lines and what she meant. And then when I talked to other friends, that's what they said, is because they have to have a blanket policy that covers everywhere they're at. And because it's not legal everywhere, they can't say it in states that it is. But again, we brought up the conversation, and she said, thank you for letting me know, because I had some patients that didn't tell me, and I saw a change, and I had to probe, and finally they told me, and she says, there's nothing wrong with it. I wish you would have told me so I could document it in your file or whatnot and stuff. and everything. So at the point, I felt wonderful that she was basically giving us an endorsement saying, yeah, more and more of her patients are going to it. Please keep me informed of what you're taking, what percentages. And basically, she wanted to really know how it was working. She wanted to she wanted to hear the success story. So I think that take it back and pass it on for her research and take it on to the next level at the same time. So I see her about every 3 months, and she's always asking me, well, how's your dosage, and are you still taking it, and what do you do, and everything.
And it's the same problem with nursing homes, with
exactly.
with the ones that cross state lines. Anything that has cross state lines, you're dealing with federal.
Yeah.
And that the Schedule 1, because of cannabis, immediately shuts everything down.
Yeah.
The state of California can do it within the state with just wholly state residential care facilities if they create a program. But anybody that's got something in another state, you can't cross over. And the long-term care, for the most part, nursing homes are all federally funded.
Yeah, nursing homes are. Their licensing is a federal thing. It's interesting that your doctor said that she had to probe certain folks. And I'm recently doing some research myself that certain groups are really reluctant to admit any sort of cannabis use because they've been disproportionately targeted due to the war on drugs. I'm glad that you are telling your doctors. It's so, so important. And other people that you, of course, interact with. Hearing people's personal stories, I think, is what really helps move the ball forward legislatively, in medicine, all the things. I mean, because there really is no reason why multi-state operators or nationwide organizations couldn't talk about CBD as a possibility and couldn't advocate for, say, descheduling cannabis so that we could really do that research.
Right.
The research needs to be done.
Even Texas technically has all CBD or on the list for Alzheimer's patients.
Yeah.
So it's where the cracks are there. The more and more doctors are interested in getting the education. There are more and more access to education for those doctors. Those places are coming up, and I think Chela's right. It's the personal stories. It's the the one-on-one with people coming in and saying, "Hey, this is working." And telling their doctors, I'd like to try it too.
Yeah, this changed because a lot of people are attacking, trying to do whatever they can to improve their chances. They're changing their diet, they're increasing their exercise, they're following different doctors' protocols that are interesting and have promise. But you, I know, had a pretty good diet and exercise before cannabis medicine, but we're still struggling with some things that are really tricky.
40 years as the kickmaster.
Yeah, you might have
had something to do with that. Talk a little bit about there are so many forms of dementia, and the diagnosis, which can be tricky, which is part of your story. Just a little bit. What you suffer from CTE? Can you tell us all what is the type of dementia you suffer from?
You don't have to say the word. We're not.
You don't have to say the whole word.
Say with CT because it's chronic traumatic encephalopathy or something like that. Sounds like elephant issues. But I always explain to, if anybody saw the movie Concussion with Will Smith, it came out I think in 2012 or whatever. He was up for an Oscar for whatnot. But it really explained what CTE was because they first found it in football players. But in reality, it was from years ago too, because that's what boxers had, and they used to call it punch drunk from boxers. But anyways, when the movie came out, I thought, this is a great opportunity. They're going to explain CTE about it. There's going to be a nice warm fuzzy feeling at the end of the story, and let's go see the movie as a family. So we went to see the movie as a family with my 3 children and everything. And like Tracy had said earlier, one of the number one side effects of CTE dementia is suicide. Well, that's how all the football players died in the movie. Mm-hmm. So it was a very surreal drive home with the kids in the car afterwards saying, "Dad, this, that." And I'm like, oh my God, the movie sort of made it worse, but it also came to the reality of what was going on with why these people had their anger issues and different situations and whatnot. So it was hard to actually get my diagnosis because, again, I was in banking for 32 years. So I was showing up to doctor's appointments at the beginning in suits and ties because I was coming from my office for some of the beginning appointments. Nobody ever had a lifestyle conversation with me. They'd ask you, what are you doing? What's this, that? They never asked me, about my personal lifestyle until one time they sent me to an appointment that was 8 hours long or something. And this person just said, hey, we're just going to talk. She put their paper down and she just said, hey, tell me about yourself and this and that. And then it came up. I've done martial arts for all these years. I hit my head on a diving board. I got in a car accident. I mean, all these different head injuries along the way. And I started in the martial arts back in the day when you used to compete, it was a mouthpiece and a cup. That was to wear hand pads or booties. And then later on, it got more, well, they wanted you to protect the guy you're hitting. So they came out with the hand pads and the booties. And it was still a mouthpiece and a cup. They'd come out and smile, and then they hit you in the groin to make sure you had your cup on. Okay, you're ready to fight. So there was no headgear at the time and stuff like that. So and then when I trained at my school, we fought a lot. We basically fought every day. And at that time, we didn't want to get lazy and put on our pads. So sometimes we fight with our pads on or not with our pads on and stuff. So it was a lot of head injuries over the years. Whereas now, you go to these tournaments, they have mouthpiece headgears. They don't want the head, as they say, rocking. So if you make the contact or whatnot and stuff. So it's completely changed. But my diagnosis also changed because of not having that long personal conversation. It started out as just a pseudo dementia, which I wasn't aware of when she first said until I researched, which is basically caused by stress or lack of certain vitamins like a vitamin D or whatnot. Right. Oh, pseudo dementia can go away. So when she told that, we started crying. We're all happy. Maybe that's what I had. I was in a very stressful job as a vice president at Wells Fargo Bank in charge of 12 offices. Just a lot of stress there. So that's what their first diagnosis. Then she moved it from that to mild cognitive impairment. From mild cognitive impairment, I ended up getting the PET scans and everything throughout my process. And they saw the damage on both sides of the temporal lobe. So they thought, oh, that's frontal temporal lobe dementia. And until, again, I had that long conversation with somebody who said, oh, no, you're a classic CTE. But again, CTE cannot be 100% diagnosed while you're alive. The only test that can do that is an autopsy test, and I'm not ready for that test yet. I donated my brain to the concussion research facility so that I carry a card in my wallet so that when something happens to me that I do want them to, dissect me and see what stage I was at and confirm that I did have CTE dementia, which is what they assume I have, but they cannot guarantee it. They say you have the characteristics of CTE dementia.
Right, right. Make sure they know you were using cannabis. Because we need that to be part of the research. We need, even with COVID, with everything, we need to know how people are thriving, how people are using less opioids, how people are using less antipsychotics, how people have lived longer and benefited more and had a better quality of life, suffering from whatever they're suffering for. Our focus, of course, being on dementia. But that is so, we literally now we've always said that 33 states people can get benefit, and now we've got CBD, and here we have actual documented proof, anecdotal as it is, that you are having a quality of life, thriving, some would say, with CTE, using far fewer chemicals that are poisoning your body, and doing that with cannabis therapeutics that almost anybody in the country could have benefit from right now. Is that right?
Anybody who can have access.
Yeah, anybody that can have access to CBD.
The medication that the doctors give you, I believe there's only 5 dementia medicines out there. All of them have terrible side effects, and sometimes the side effects are worse. So if you're already having hallucinogenic situations, all of these medicines, that's another side effect. So all it does is increase that hallucinogenic. I used to see a shadow guy in my room at night. And when I got off the Aricept and I moved to the CBD, that shadow guy has gone. I don't see him.
Oh.
So you do not hallucinate on cannabis medicine?
Of course, he's using THC. Well, we just had a recent conversation about how 5 milligrams of THC will make you hallucinate. Some people were like, I never noticed that. But
also you don't use THC
Right.
just THC.
You use THCA, which is remarkable that that THCA is, it's so exciting that the acids are coming up.
We dream of the day that one day we can actually get like cannabis leaves at the store. Right next to your arugula is cannabis leaves, so that you can put that in your smoothie and your salad. And at one time,
juice it like what's that grass that you
wheatgrass juice.
Wheatgrass juice, yeah.
Yeah. At one time, it used to be part of the animal feed. Hemp was part of animal feed.
Wow.
Hemp microgreens would be an amazing addition.
That would be great.
You can do hemp microgreens. It's I mean, that's another thing. If hemp was, it was part of the pharmacopoeia for years and years and years, and for all kinds of things that it's being used for now. And look at if hemp in general had been embraced as opposed to plastic, look where we'd be in the environment right now as well as health.
Move in that direction.
Cannabis does save the world. That's our YouTube channel.
That's our YouTube channel.
But this has been really exciting. Yeah, go ahead, Chela.
Another question. I just want to make sure that both of you have had a chance to tell folks anything you want to say about your journey, or about how you have found how cannabis helps your family function better, life be better, or any problems that you may have encountered with cannabis therapeutics along the way. Feel free to talk about that too, if that's something that has come up.
Yeah, and what's like the number one thing you can think was the benefit that you can just like, oh, this is it, and we're so glad we started using cannabis?
Not going to cry. I will say 100% it saved our marriage, because without it, the mood swings, the aggression that was there from his disease was not tolerable for us as a family. And with the cannabis, with the CBD, that is gone. There's a lot of stigma. That's the problem. And I think people need to get away from that, because this works. And I would much rather Stephen is on something natural, something beneficial that I know is not going to have those side effects. And his mood, I'm not kidding you guys, it's 100%. It was not. The summer that he got on it, we were leaving to go on our normal trip that we're leaving in a couple days for. And we had friends going with us, and they were ready to just help me leave him when we came home, honestly. And it changed over, even in that first week, there was a huge difference in him. And I'm so thankful that he agreed to do this protocol instead.
Don't wait 2 years like I did, though.
Don't wait.
And don't make your loved one stuff it in the food.
Right. Don't.
Like you do with the cat, yes.
Yeah, the stigma is delaying this benefit to people in so many ways, and you guys are really, helping break that and normalize it.
You really are.
And it's just, we're so inspired, and
thank you for kicking the stigma.
Yeah.
Kickmaster.
Kicking the stigma. Kick owls. What's going on? What's you say you're going on your regular trip? Is that just pleasure? Are you just relaxing, or is this part of education and inspiration? And what is Kick Owls?
Well, first of all, Kick Owls is my walk for the Alzheimer's. That's my walk team is Kick Owls, and that's actually me throwing a sidekick.
Yeah.
Nice.
You look at everywhere I go, I throw a sidekick in a picture in Paris at the Eiffel Tower and everything, and book someday saying I kicked around the world. So this vacation is just we go to Cabo every year. It's a family vacation, and we're just excited. We've gotten a lot of information from the resort, how they've updated and cleansed it and stuff. So we're just going to stay at this really nice resort. We're not going to leave the resort. So it's just a nice family vacation that we're going on. The nice thing is that I'll be packing my stuff as well. But the CBD, I just put in my, what's it called?
Your overnight, your toiletry bag.
My toiletry, I just put these in my toiletry. And I have a bracelet too, in case something comes up when somebody ever stops me. It's actually because like we said, we travel a lot, and on one of our trips, I got lost in the airport in London, and Tracy said, as soon as I get home, I'm going to tag you as a joke. So we had this bracelet. Both of our brothers-in-laws, they're bicyclists, so they wrote these called Road ID. And the nice thing about the Road ID is that you can put whatever information you want right on it. The medical alert bracelets are wonderful. The only problem is that you then have to call the 800 number,
Right.
look something up, and what happens if the computers are down. Whereas this one says my name right on it, Stephen A. Barbieri. It says I live in Modesto, California. It says Tracy's got her phone number. It says Brittany, which is our oldest daughter, her phone number, and then the last word there is dementia. Go ahead.
Well, and something else with that is because with CTE, people get combative.
Yeah.
And so if he were ever someplace and he got combative and the police were called, this is a notification that maybe that's why he's combative.
Right, right.
So that they can approach him in a different way.
Just ask him if he's had his CBD.
Right. Yes, he'll be fine. Don't worry.
Yeah, don't need any violence. Just give him a couple of drops of CBD. Everything will be fine. Inspiring on so many levels, Stephen and Tracy. Thank you so much.
So much.
For coming on.
And exercise.
Oh, and exercise.
Totally the key.
Yes. Yes.
No, I was just saying, the number one thing is with the CBD. That's the number one medication out there. If you got a broken hip, go do water aerobics. If you've got to do something that your body can tolerate. So I don't tell everybody go do what I do, go to the gym and run or mitt work. Just do what your body will allow you to do, but do something.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you guys so much. Have a great trip.
Yeah.
Be safe. Stay healthy.
Yeah.
And keep living your best life. It's really great to see, to meet you last year. It's been a little over a year now since we met back in February of 2019.
We had a similar experience with how cannabis changed our family's life as well. We could not have all stayed together helping my mom if cannabis hadn't come into our picture also. And here's the crazy thing. We're longtime cannabis users with no fear about cannabis at all. But we knew nothing about Alzheimer's disease. And they gave her all these drugs and said if I gave her cannabis, it was bad for her memory. I'm like, wait, but this thing, the only thing I know is there's a memory. Okay. And so I listened to them. But then eventually, like you guys, had to try something else because otherwise it was completely unmanageable.
Yep. And it brought 4 out of 5 families, fall apart
right,
with a dementia diagnosis. So anything.
So yeah,
anything
go families. Families bottom up study.
Absolutely.
We are informing the doctors. We are informing the organizations. We are informing all the folks who need to know that cannabis helps dementia. And if we have to do it one person, one story at a time, then so be it.
We got in front of 85 nurses here recently. That were graduating from nursing class. We came in on dementia because in their book, it's only like 3 paragraphs. So they actually call us in at one of the local nursing schools, Gurnick, during as they get closer to graduation, when they do talk about that specific thing, they have us come in and speak, and we speak for about an hour and a half. We normally talk for 45 minutes because I found out from the very first time that their questions are more important than what I'm sharing because they want to know something. So, and the thing is, we bring up the CBD, we bring up the cannabis, we bring it up all the time. And we emphasize the fact that if maybe in the nursing homes, they don't allow it, you might talk to the family and the family could actually bring it in when they visit and they could administer it if the nursing home doesn't want to do it. And they're like, oh my God, I never thought about telling the family. They, because there are some family members that come in every day to see mom or every day to see the husband or wife. They could bring the CBD with them on a daily basis, right? So we've actually gotten in front of almost probably 300 nurses here over the last couple of years from people we spoke to. It was, like I said, 85. It was a group of 40 something, 2 different groups that we saw.
Oh, that's fantastic.
What's like some of the most frequently asked questions that they ask you?
What can the family members do to help the nurses? What does the family want the nurse to know? And I think that would, like Stephen said, allow them to use this because it's the benefit. This helps. It's going to help everybody in the nursing home
Yeah.
get along better and have a better quality of life.
And we talked about the fact about it's easier to go into a person's with dementia's world than to bring them into reality. And I'll do a quick short story. One that my dementia coach tells me, and I share it all the time, is a lady got into emergency room, had dementia, which they didn't know that's what she was. She's screaming and yelling, throwing a fit, saying, "There's a fire, there's a fire, there's a fire." Everybody's coming in trying to sedate her because there wasn't a fire, but in her mind, she was. They ended up calling my dementia coach. She's actually just a therapist, but that's my nickname I gave her. She came down to the room, into the emergency room, and asked her, "Ma'am, what's the matter?" "There's a fire in the corner." She went into the corner. She said, "Right here." She stomped her foot about 4 times, and she said, "Is it out?" "No, it's a little bit." Stomped again. "Is it out now?" "Yes." And then walked over there. "Oh, everything is calm. Have you had your lunch now?" And then basically redirected her. So she basically explained that, and I share this story with the nurses too, is that sometimes if somebody's so agitated, find out what it is, and it may not be real, but it is something you can fix for them in their world. And then once you fixed it, just redirect them. And then we also talk about the benefits of, cannabis is wonderful, but there's also the benefit of music for people that have dementia, music from their era. So if I like rock and roll and you're playing rock and roll in the background, that's not going to be something I'm going to enjoy. But if I like, Frank Sinatra or something from my era, that type of music. And then the biggest thing for me is everywhere I go, I take tons and tons of photos because photos are my trigger to my memory. I don't remember a lot of our trips that we go on until Facebook pops up and says, "Here's a trip to Ireland and you did this and you kicked Arnie Stone." I'm like, "Oh yeah. I remember." I tell the nurses, have family members, if they want to spend some quality time, bring in an old photo album from home when they come to see mom or grandma or the aunt and go through that photo album, and maybe somebody on their phone just play some of the, the 50s music or whatever era they're from as they're going through that. It's going to really calm them down. So there's a lot of things you can do. But again, cannabis is really something that's extremely helpful for all the families. You just have to find your dosage because it doesn't have a dosage on the side because everybody's receptors are different, everybody's body weight and their body chemistry is a little bit different. But I've never known anybody that said they had allergic reaction or it hurt them. I've never heard a negative story from a user. I've heard negative stories about people talking about it that aren't informed.
That's right.
And that's very powerful, I feel, especially coming from you, someone who was never a user before you used it as medicine.
And it is just it's a tool in the dementia care toolkit. It really is. And there is such a care gap in, like you're saying, with just in treating and identifying problems with dementia care. And it's just amazing that, they don't really study it that much. They just have somebody come in and let you know what's going on. It's sort of like nutrition and cannabis, the lack of education of cannabis in medical schools. We noticed the gap early on in dementia care and here in Southern California. And that's why we started, just studying with Teepa Snow, positive approach to care, and giving virtual dementia tours, to try to let people know what's really going on with these folks living with dementia. And of course, we always talk about how cannabis helped us and our family and how it can help you. And that's what we're trying to do with this podcast is connect people with other people who are using it successfully and finding relief. And so we really appreciate you coming on, and we've totally monopolized your time because your story is so inspiring.
It's super compelling.
It's so great to see you doing so well. And we thank you so much.
And your family's still together and thriving.
Absolutely.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Of course. Anytime you'd like to come back, let us know.
Yes, give us an update if the research that's going on is really in cannabis and dementia. Even Didi Miri in Israel is like, we've got some amazing things going on with dementia and Alzheimer's with cannabis in the laboratory. So there's a lot of really exciting things on the horizon, and that's what we're going to try to do is keep the information flowing and connect the stories, personal stories of people who are finding relief. And we really thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having us.
Thanks for joining us for Cannabis Helps Dementia. Be sure to download and like us on Spotify, iTunes, or your favorite podcasting network.
And please share this podcast with anyone you know in relationship with dementia.
Do you want to tell your story of how cannabis helps dementia? Visit Anchor FM/Cannabis Helps Dementia to leave us a voice message or drop us a note and connect with us on the socials.
Check out the Society of Cannabis Clinicians website to find real medical professionals familiar with cannabis medicine in your area.
Because you remember, we're not doctors.
Just family caregivers turned advocates.
And don't forget, download, like, and share what you learn. Cannabis helps dementia.
Why don't you get wise? Get up and get out. Get rid of that frown that's been dragging you down and get up in the air. Just pretend that you can fly. You'll never know if you can till you try. So get out in your right. Be able and strong. Give vent to that intent you've had pent up for so long. Come on up and see what it's like being out where you're free. Just do something that's real unique. Do something that's new.
Well, I got to tell you, we could talk to Stephen and Tracy all day, and
we really could.
They have such a great, amazing story, and can't thank
you
them
for
enough.
Listening live. Thank you,
Stephen's listening on Facebook.
Stephen's in the chat on Facebook.
Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that amazing interview, and we hope you're having a great time down in Cabo.
They're back. Back
What's
from Cabo. Back from
They're
Cabo
back.
last night.
Awesome.
Yes,
Awesome. Look great. Looked like you're doing pretty good down there. There's a little front flip with a full twist from the old guy on cannabis medicine.
Nice.
Thriving on CBD, kicking the CTE with CBD and THCA.
Pretty
How
awesome.
about that? Amazing. We hear all about THCA in the news and in the science and some anecdotal stuff, but haven't known anybody personally who's really benefited from it. So that's really, really surprising and amazing. And finding your dose is so crucial. And we need standardization so we don't have to do this. Even in a legalized environment, we shouldn't have to do this. We shouldn't have to guess at things. We need to get the doctors on board.
And researchers.
It looks like the doctors are on board. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell the doctors.
It's the laws.
We need to change
the policy. We need to change the laws.
That's right. We need to change
really
the law.
important. So make sure you call all your representatives, all your elected representatives, senator, everybody, your governor, your mayor. I know they're a little busy right now. A lot of stuff going on. So much. But if you remind them, that cannabis being on the Schedule 1 of drugs is because of racist drug policy and the war on drugs, and that cannabis, by definition, cannot be on the Schedule 1 of drugs because it is a medicine, then everybody needs to keep advocating, telling their people, telling the elected leaders, telling their doctors, so that we can move the ball forward, because otherwise it's going to take a generation before people living with dementia in Nebraska or Idaho get this benefit. They could know now.
They could. Well, the laws are creeping along. As we reported earlier in the show, but the stigma is there, as Tracy and Stephen said. 2 years it took Stephen to get over the stigma from not ever being sort of having that one side of the conversation for most of his life. It took him a couple of years to get over it, and we need folks to get on the cannabis sooner rather than later, to get rid of that polypharmacy, to seriously affect their symptoms, whether it's insomnia or agitation, the mood. Saved the marriage. 4 out of 5 families will collapse will fall apart after a dementia diagnosis.
That's an Alzheimer's Association statistic.
That's right. We might be buffering a little bit, but I think we're back green now. So thanks once again to Stephen Barbieri. Thanks for watching today, and thank you, Tracy. We really enjoyed that interview, and we hope to do it again down the road, because we're going to keep doing the podcast that you can get a new episode every Friday.
Most Fridays.
We're going to try to keep them coming out, even in our transition. We're doing an interview tomorrow, a great interview tomorrow. You want to preview it a little bit?
Sure. So Kebra Smith Bolden is going to be on next week. She is the only African-American cannabis license holder in Connecticut. And she is a registered nurse. She is a hospice nurse, and I'm really excited to hear about how cannabis helps people at the end of life. Her grandmother had an aneurysm, so it's personal to her, and she knows firsthand, not only from her family, but in her practice, how great cannabis is for people living with dementia. And she agreed to speak with us tomorrow. And Dave's going to turn that around for Friday. I'm really excited.
I'm going to turn it around and do our taxes.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's a dynamic time, everyone.
It is.
And as a matter of fact...
so you may not be tweeting too much.
I may not be tweeting too much, but you can still follow me over on Twitter at DC420LA. I'm on all the socials at DC420LA. That's where I tweet out the news articles and other opinions. Not just cannabis. And you can follow Cannabis Helps Dementia on Twitter at Cannabis Helps, where Chela is doing your tweeting. On Instagram, of course, it is at Cannabis Helps Dementia. And on Facebook, it's CHD Podcast, because you can't put cannabis in the Facebook username. Strange. But that's where you can follow us on the socials as we get into the rest of the news headlines for the week before we hele on. Yesterday was some type of an event that sounded like a war.
It was 4th of July.
Outside the window of our Mount Washington home. But apparently Americans spend more on cannabis than on 4th of July cookouts.
4th of July?
4th of July, yes. But Americans spend more on the cannabis than they do on hot dogs and burgers.
Oh, that's good.
On the cookout. So there you go. Cannabis essential yet again during the COVID and all the time. Essentially. Essential cannabis. In the state of Florida, Dr. Mike, if you're still in the chat, hello. Thanks for joining us from down there in Florida. Looks like everybody's loving the telehealth thanks to COVID.
Yes, sir.
State considers permanent telehealth medical marijuana options. So that's good news. We know some of the doctors we've been speaking to on the podcast are expanding their telehealth access. Dr. Tischler, Dr. Yafai, our good friends down in Florida. I think Dr. Barry does telehealth. I know we'll have to have him on. We're going to have him on the podcast too. Dr. Mike too. But telehealth in Florida looks like it might get to be permanent for you guys down there. Also, if you sparked up one joint before you joined the military, it's okay now.
Uh-oh.
Turns out, if you want to go die for the country, or kill for the country, troops who admit a marijuana use will be allowed to re-enlist under new provision. I think that's why they wanted to get rid of the hippies, is because the marijuana made folks not want to fight.
Yep.
That was part of the plan. Mm-hmm. So that may not be such a good idea. I don't know. But sure, why not? Hey, Chela, do you know what happens to your brain's marijuana? Oh, you know what happens when your brain's marijuana system fails?
Yeah, you get dementia, you get migraines, you get fibromyalgia,
depression,
you get
all kinds
IBD,
of stuff.
You get all kinds of stuff.
Well, in Psychology Today.
Ooh, I love science.
The psychiatric consequences of making too much or too little endocannabinoid.
Oh, how awesome.
Fascinating, right?
Yes.
Recent study found that patients with Tourette's syndrome showed a significant elevation in the concentration of the two most prevalent endogenous cannabinoids.
Is that why I curse so much?
And their principal metabolites. Shit.
Oh my God, I curse all the time. Is it because I smoke too much weed?
Are you making fun of people with Tourette's?
No, I'm just thinking that maybe because I've thought maybe I have Tourette's.
That it's because your cannabinoids receptors are over
maybe
over flooded,
I
overloaded.
swear to God, you guys, this is fresh. We have not discussed any of this. I've been busy.
This is Dave reads the news for Chela. And everybody else, too. But wait, there's more findings, Chela.
Tell me.
In contrast to patients with Tourette's syndrome, people who suffer with either migraines or post-traumatic stress disorder may have too little activity in their brain's endogenous marijuana system. This may explain why smoking marijuana is claimed to reduce headache pain severity by almost half. These patients may be simply providing their nervous system with a necessary level of cannabinoids.
I'm a patient. I had a terrible migraine this week.
You did?
And cannabis does really help.
That was a stress-induced migraine, I think.
It was, but still.
It was definitely treated with cannabis.
Yep.
So interesting, fascinating story this week in the mainstream Psychology Today, exploring the ever-elusive endocannabinoid system.
But apparently there are no studies, huh?
And connecting it to some brain science, some psychiatric consequences of a deficient or overactive, say a malfunctioning endocannabinoid system. Interesting. It is medicine.
Really interesting because, I do have migraine and I was diagnosed with irritable bowel. But that, dude, the thing is that I have the whole Dr. Kim thing. Anyway, I don't mean to interrupt the news.
That's okay. Well, Holy Cannabis Oil mentions it's called ECD, or endocannabinoid deficiency, as postulated by
Dr.
Ethan
Russo.
Russo. That's correct. We've talked about it on the show many times. Thank you, HCO. Moving on, this from The Advocate, coming out of Louisiana. Louisiana's medical marijuana market is about to grow tens of thousands of plants.
Oh.
Of course, they recently expanded their list and access to medical marijuana for folks. And
you mean their list of tyranny?
Their list of tyranny has been expanded. Their negative liberty has been given for certain more, basically anything.
She's rad. Yes, she's amazing.
Yes.
I'm hoping to have her on the podcast someday.
Large license holder in Louisiana.
And the other one is Southern University, which is a historically black college.
Correct. Southern University medical marijuana license. That's HERA. Is it HERA? Am I reading that? No, ILERA, Holistic Healthcare.
Put your glasses on.
Put my Anderson Coopers on. Good for the show.
All right. For ease and flow.
So Southern University.
Revolutionary Road.
Ease and flow, Revolutionary Road. Southern University medical marijuana license, ILERA Holistic Healthcare, shipped out its first tinctures and topical creams to pharmacies this month.
Sweet.
Joining LSU licensee Wellcanna Group, which put its first tinctures on the shelves in late August. So more access to folks in more states. Good news. Meanwhile, another study reporting, Javier Haas reporting in Forbes, UNM, I guess that's New Mexico, study cannabis is effective in treating depression, improving mental health. And this is smoked cannabis, the effectiveness of cannabis flower for immediate relief from symptoms of depression, led by the founders of the University of New Mexico's Marijuana Research Fund. It's good to hear those are around. After receiving about 6,000 outcomes reported anonymously by 1,800 individuals tracking their cannabis use for treating depression through the Relief app, Chela. Remember, we learned about the Relief app.
Yep, I still have it.
A very cool little sort of way to track your cannabis use for medical reasons. The researchers concluded that on average, patients reported an improvement in symptoms of nearly 4 points on a scale of 0 to 10. Just moments after consuming whole, dried, natural cannabis flower.
Here's the Relief app.
Widely known as cannabis buds. Do you have it?
I do.
You've got it on your phone.
I do.
There it is.
On my phone.
Relief. Cool.
Yeah.
Research. Anecdotal research.
Yeah.
More research, Chela. Brinkwire. Study advances understanding of brain connectivity in cannabis users. What do you think that's all about? You think it's good? You think it's bad?
It's good.
Let's see here.
I wasn't listening.
I'm just trying to find the sentence that I found that I wanted to read.
Dave reads the news.
Dave reads the news.
Chela has to be listening.
The findings add to the understanding that regions of the brain do not perform in isolation, but through connectivity of multiple brain networks.
Oh yeah, it's
That's
totally
single.
good.
That single
I see
to
the
each
picture.
single. That signal to each other depending on need and state. It further identifies that brain connectivity during craving is not static, but rather has fluctuations in connection patterns between reward-regulated regions such as central executive network and the nucleus accumbens area. There's a lot of research in here.
God, I love it. I love it so much. I'm totally listening.
Okay, so here's the findings. These findings further extend an earlier study published by Philby et al. In PNAS, wherein Philby Lab described the first evidence of underlying neural mechanisms during cravings of cannabis users. The findings showed that chronic users...
Wait, what are they craving? Cannabis or like
No, craving,
Doritos?
food craving. Dorito
Okay.
craving. Some munchies.
Go on.
The findings show that chronic users not only have increased neural response in reward-related brain regions when there is a desire to consume cannabis, but that the magnitude of the response is associated with the severity of cannabis-related problems. What are cannabis-related problems?
Not
Are they
having any.
speaking of?
Not having any is the only one I can think of.
And I guess it is craving cannabis.
Yeah, it sounds like craving cannabis.
So,
Or maybe they have some endocannabinoid deficiency and they need it. Or
they need it.
PTSD or migraines. You know, Jesus, I have both of those things, for God's sakes.
all right, more studies.
Also, I just want to say something. We had somebody come over this morning, and he was so kind and lovely and bought the bed and took it away. And he was saying how, you know, he had a little hit before he came over, but he waited too long and he didn't, you know, smoke when he was home and thinking about what he needed to do. And that really reveals to me that cannabis for him is a medical thing. He probably has like ADD or something that it helps him fucking focus. So, and I also got into it with somebody else this week on the Facebook, on the hate book, about whether cannabis is a vice. And it's fucking not. Because if it is medicine, intrinsically, the thing is medicine, then it can't not be medicine when it's being used in a non-medicine type of way.
Well,
it is still medicine.
Medicine can be used. Opioids are used as a vice, right? I mean, is it considered, is it an opioid addiction or is opioid, you know, drug addiction? Is that a, you know, because that's from over-the-counter addiction. Is that, I guess that's not a vice. What's the technical term for a vice? Is that option? Is that...
Let's look it up.
Yeah, I guess we should look it up.
I'm going to look it up.
Something you do voluntarily that's socially, you know, what is the vice squad? What do they cover? Prostitution?
No, a vice.
Drugs.
Immoral or wicked behavior.
There you go.
Well, how can something be medicine also and immoral or wicked?
Abusing a medicine.
Criminal activities
Might be
involving
considered
prostitution, pornography, or drugs. Again, racist.
Personal choices.
An immoral or wicked personal characteristic. No, it's not a vice. Period.
Vices are what the Democrats and Republicans try to tell the libertarians not to do.
Did somebody
That's
say
what
that?
vices are. No, it's what I said.
Oh, that's very
I just
funny. Yeah.
And then it's recorded for posterity, so if I need it later, I'll pull it out.
Cannabis is not a vice. Cannabis is medicine.
Cannabis is a vitamin. Vitamin
Cannabis
weed.
is a vitamin.
Vitamin weed.
Yeah, cannabis is a vitamin. So I do want it in for food. I would like it to be next to the arugula, like I said in the podcast episode. And I think that that'll really help a lot of things.
HCO, Holy Cannabis Oil, said juicing cannabis changed his life. His lives.
But you have to have access to the fresh plant.
Small family farms growing soy, corn, sunflowers that need workers. Okay. Oh, HCO is looking for a live environment kind of situation too.
Right on.
Everybody's on the move.
Yeah, everybody's on the move.
Everybody's on the move. Everybody's on the move.
All good.
Everybody's on the. Well, let's finish up the news, Chela, so we can get on to the move. Finish moving. Finish packing. We got more packing to do. Good news. All the DAs in California apparently met their July deadline and cleared thousands of cannabis convictions.
Wow.
So
finally,
that's exciting. Nearly 200,000 of them meeting the July 1st deadline set by Proposition 64. So some good news.
Because they had to.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
And it's not because it's a election year. It's because They had to. The one and only good thing about Proposition 64.
And they had 2 years to do it.
Jerks.
Right?
Yeah.
So they waited to the very last. Some of them did it early, but some of them waited to the very end. In the decriminalization realm, Cleveland has decriminalized weed and seals records for low-level offenses. And you can have a whopping 7 ounces of flour in the city of Cleveland.
That's reasonable.
That's reasonable. That's a weekend.
That's exactly what I thought. I'm like, that's reasonable. Like, that's reasonable. It seems like, okay, you can have whatever you want. You know.
7
But
ounces.
still, you know, again, it goes back to what people say about, you know, how much you can sell as a legal seller versus the traditional market or what it used to be. And, you know, I think limits are also tyranny. We got to talk to Alexis Bortel again. It's been a while.
It's been a long time.
We should connect with her.
And that appeals. Something's got to be going on with that appeals.
We need to talk to her.
Something's
Anyway, go on with your
time.
news.
It's about that time.
Go on with your
action.
news.
They needed action.
7 ounces in Cleveland.
7 ounces in Cleveland.
Still not going to Cleveland.
Still no reason to go to Cleveland. Virginia lawmakers announced plans to legalize marijuana one day after decriminalization takes effect. Boy, that didn't take long.
Well, you know, racism. So everybody's looking for ways to undo systemic racism now, and this is a way. Tell your local city council this is how you rectify some of the wrongs of systemic racism.
End the drug war. And of course, all these cities are now looking for ways to bail out their budgets with some cannabis cash rolling into the coffers to pay for some of the changes that need to occur. We got our $150 million measly budget cut to the police and LAPD. Not even, what is that, even 1% or 10%?
Please, it's a fazul.
I think it's 10%. I think it's 10% of their budget.
It's trash.
No, it's ridiculous.
Go on. I'm about to start talking about my hair.
Nothing. Well,
We've gotten to the silly moment.
Well, we're just about done. Last story of the night. Congress votes to let researchers study marijuana from dispensaries.
What?
Apparently.
You saved the best story for last? Accidentally?
House of Representatives approved, well, it's the House. You know, we're going to the Senate.
Oh, I
House
see.
of Representatives approved legislation on Wednesday that aimed at finally letting researchers study marijuana purchased from businesses in state legal markets instead of only letting them use government-grown cannabis,
Wow.
as is the case under current law. The intent of the provision, tucked into a 2,000-page infrastructure bill,
Oh, nice.
is to allow the interstate distribution of such products, even to scientists in jurisdictions that have not yet legalized marijuana. I can't believe the House of Representatives did something good. Well, they also passed a few things this year, but as we redline into our stream network, I think the show must end because our stream is getting crappy.
And I'm about to start talking about my hair. So let's do this.
What would you like to say about your hair?
No,
That's the last story.
Rose also said that she loves my headband look. So
very
yay.
good.
I look like a seal clapping like that. That's hilarious.
Oh, with the headband?
No, just now.
Oh.
Anyway, back to that story. Awesome, dude. That would be rad, wouldn't it? If we could study stuff that's actually being sold out in the world. That's what really needs to happen, yo.
Well, you can't get the results you really need from what they give you from Mississippi.
Well, I think it's good to study what Mississippi has to offer as well. I'm not saying that they should just go out of business.
Well, also considering what good effect you get with low doses of cannabis.
This is what I'm saying.
But yeah, we need to start of checking on the testing the high THC stuff to see what it's doing, what it could be doing negatively.
Everything needs to be tested.
That's right.
Everything needs to be allowed to be tested. So cannabis needs to be descheduled.
That's right.
So, hey, 45 could do it if he wanted to.
He could.
By executive order. He doesn't have to ask Mitch's permission. He can do it all on his own. If he wants a win, that would be something he could do. Biden could promise it, but he hasn't. He won't. It's not in his thing. But hey, there's a new game in town. I don't know who else has heard about it, but Kanye West has decided to run for president, I think.
He's not going to be on any ballots.
Well,
but he's
whatever.
running.
It's exciting that he said it because I
He's
know
have-
he would definitely deschedule cannabis.
He'd have to do a write-in campaign.
No,
Hey,
really?
Angie
A
Byers is
write-in?
in the chat.
Angie, oh my God, hi Max.
Angie Byers is in the chat, and this is where we're going. This is where we're headed. The new adventures, the ease and flow revolutionary road, headed for
That's hilarious.
Gold Beach, Oregon.
Ease and flow.
And
You're playing the video.
I'm playing the video.
Max, check it out. We're gonna go on a road trip, and we're gonna start here in Gold Beach, Oregon.
And that's one of the casitas. That's the view of the property. That's where we're going to be hanging out for a little while we wait for COVID to clear out of California. We know that's not going to be for a couple years, so we're going to be up there for a while, Ange. And boy, is it going to be a fun adventure. It's going to be. We're so excited about what the possibilities are on the amazing property up there, and just. Getting away from what's going on here, and
It's an exciting time.
ease and flow, revolutionary road.
Yeah, so follow us on Instagram. We're not sure exactly what it's going to be called, but it might be some sort of variation on ease and flow.
We're gonna make our own version. We're gonna make our own version of this video with old people in it.
Old people, not young, beautiful young people.
We're
It's
gonna make
be
a
me and
version of
Dave.
this with the old
I think
people.
I'm gonna color my hair white because this isn't working for the older people thing. It's still too black, and my hair will never go all white on its own.
Probably not. Well, folks, I don't know how empty this room's going to be next week when we do the show, but we will do the show. There will be another podcast up on Friday. Make sure you go over to anchor.fm/Cannabis Helps Dementia and find your podcast service you'd like to listen on. Rate, review us on iTunes, and come join us next week when we will also play. Stephen, if you're still listening, we're going to put up the actual video, and folks, we're going to have to put the real video of the interview with visuals. I just ran out of time today, and Mercury retrograde stuff is a little crazy. So that will go up probably tomorrow. But you can listen to the podcast on your podcast servers, and you can join us here next Friday for Cannabis Saves the World. Anything else to say, babe?
No, just again, thank you to Stephen and Tracy Barbieri. They were awesome. We were so happy to have you. And hey, we're going to be on this long road trip. I'm sure we're going to be driving around Northern California and the Central Valley.
We got to go through the Central.
So maybe we'll connect with you
Central
guys
Valley
sometime while we're on the road for the next little while. It's going to be fun, and I hope that you'll follow us. You guys, everyone will follow us on Instagram when we figure out what it's going to be called.
Yep. All right, everybody.
Cool. Thank you.
Free the plant, free the people. Pot for peace.
Peace out.
Murderers keep murdering, the churches keep a-burning, the rapists keep a-raping, and the tide ain't turning. Uncle Sam, for all your power, things get worse every hour. It seems to me your energy's unwasted, chasing my friends and me. So hey, Uncle Sam, hey there, Uncle Sam, leave us pot smokers alone. Uncle Sam, leave us pot smokers alone. The terrorists keep terrorizing, our leaders keep a-lying, the haters keep a-hating, and the planet's dying. Uncle Sam, do what's proper. Call off your dogs and your helicopters. The problems of society were not caused by my friends and me. So hey, Uncle Sam, hey there, Uncle Sam, leave us pot smokers alone, Uncle Sam. Leave us pot smokers alone. How many innocent people gonna be imprisoned? We just peace and love and street pop and brotherhood freaks. A touch of Mother Nature never made nobody violent, never made nobody hate, nobody will break nobody's peace. It's never been shown to be harmful. Don't you tell me no lies with your caffeine, codeine, nicotine eyes. The cannabis ban is just recent, just since 1938. To re-legalize it, realize it, you made a big mistake. Hey, Uncle Sam, hey there, Uncle Sam, leave us pot smokers alone, Uncle Sam. Leave us pot smokers alone, Uncle Sam. Leave us pot smokers alone. Leave us pot smokers alone. Uncle Sam, understand I love you, but leave me alone. Smokers alone. Leave us pot smokers alone. Our leaders keep lying. Leave us pot smokers alone. Terrorists keep terrorizing. Leave us pot
We need to talk about your marijuana problem. You know, what's your problem with it?
Good people don't smoke marijuana. This drug is dangerous. You cannot play with it. It's not funny. It's not something to laugh about.
You can argue the pluses and minuses of marijuana, but marijuana ain't heroin. So we have to end that, and that's what I will do. As President of the United States, I believe we can do that through executive order, and I will do that.
Smoke weed every day.